Good afternoon. Welcome to Midday Live, or streaming live on the internet via 3news.com as well as Facebook. My name is Solis Rose Quarty. Let's find out what to expect in the next 60 minutes in the headlines. And the Food and Drugs Authority retrieves close to 6,000 capsules of Tramadol from some 50 licensed chemical shops in the Western region. Also this afternoon, President Akufo-Addo reiterates government will not abandon projects merely because they were started by the previous administration. And on the foreign front this afternoon, Zimbabwe establishes special courts to deal with cases of political violence. All these stories and more, including sports, business, as well as entertainment, coming up in the next 1 hour. Don't forget that you can always get interactive with us via our various social media platforms. And we're also live on DSTV channel 279. Let's start off with our first story. And the Food and Drugs Authority has retrieved close to 6,000 capsules of Tramadol from some 50 licensed chemical shops in the Western region. Now, over 90% of the Tramadol were seized at Asankregoa and other mining communities. Western Regional Director of FDA, Abu Sumaila, explained the Association of Licensed Chemical Sellers in the region are equally worried about the abuse of the drug and have expressed readiness to give up members found culpable.
This is a registered product, all right. It's supposed to be dispensed in a pharmacy. You come with a prescription. But unfortunately, we are finding a lot of them in licensed chemical shops, which are not supposed to stock prescription-only medicines and other pharmacy-initiated medicines. They are only supposed to sell over-the-counter medicines. That is why they are called OTC licensed chemical shops. However, we occasionally come across those of a higher strength, like for this one, like this one 20 milligram. And those ones we are finding just few of them in the system. This 120 milligram, this is 225 milligram. So far, this is what we have found over the period that we have been. I think it's a total of about 80 tablets. So we've asked them to tell us where he bought it from. We are investigating him, and he's also cooperating. And I think what has come out is that most of them, they say like they buy from peddlers. But our main concern is with this one, how they get them. So I think we also are working on this one so that we'll see how best we can restrict the distribution. So we're trying to put measures to make sure that the distribution of these things is properly enforced, where we try to tell wholesalers to try as much as possible not to sell prescription-only medicines to facilities that are not supposed to dispense prescription-only medicines.
Now, let's stay on this issue. And 2 weeks ago, the Food and Drugs Authority said it had identified 21 chemical selling shops in the Ashanti region for flouting regulations on the sale of Tramadol. Over 4,000 tablets of the controlled prescription-only medicine were also confiscated in a market surveillance exercise by the authority. Benjamin Adu filed this report. Tramadol is a synthetic narcotic analgesic or pain reliever prescribed to patients suffering from moderate to severe pain. Once in the body, the drug attaches itself to the brain's pain receptors, ultimately blocking the sensation of pain. This, according to health experts, decreases the brain's perception of pain. But the abuse of the drug is on the increase among a section of the Ghanaian population, especially the youth. Some rely on the product to enhance sexual drive, prolong ejaculation, and as performance enhancers. The Food and Drugs Authority in the Ashanti region has been undertaking a number of activities to reduce the harmful effects of abusing Tramadol. Regional head of the authority, Nora Nakitelabi, says some Tramadol peddlers have been arrested.
Last year, we worked with some of our stakeholders. We worked with the police and arrested some peddlers of Tramadol at the railways area who were presented to the police and are undergoing prosecution. Our investigation indicated that the product is known by various slang names, which include Tramol, Moray, TM, 225, Red, and White.
The FDA recently undertook market surveillance of 84 shops, comprising 50 over-the-counter chemical selling shops and 34 pharmacy shops within the Ashanti region. 21 of the 50 chemical shops were found to have stocked and sold Tramadol against regulations. The authority confiscated the controlled prescription-only medicine and referred those involved to Pharmacy Council for action. Nora Telabi says the FDA is partnering other state agencies to curb the illegal distribution and sale of the drug. Now, in a related development, pressure group Occupy Ghana has called on government to take immediate steps to curtail the abuse of Tramadol. Occupy Ghana said in a statement on Monday, 23rd April 2018, that government must urgently take steps to tackle the illegal trade in Tramadol. It recommended a three-pronged approach: medical law enforcement and prevention and rehabilitation. The pressure group is asking the Ministry of Health to appoint a group to research the extent of the problem. It was concerned that Tramadol addiction presents a health problem of grave severity, and it behoves the nation to get on top of it before it becomes an uncontrollable epidemic. Now, let's still stay on issues regarding Tramadol addiction, as I've been joined in the studio by Dr. Gabriel Will Bernard Kuhina. He's a national chairman of the Ghana Coalition of NGOs in Health. And as I said, he joins us in the studio. Thank you very much for joining us. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
All right. Now, first of all, what is your coalition's assessment of the misuse of Tramadol in the country?
Yeah, thank you, and good afternoon, everybody in Ghana, and good afternoon, the Minister of Health and the Director General, Ghana Health Service. We are currently at the National Health Summit, and so it's one of the critical issues being discussed. And I've also put across in all the 10 regions, and I've received 100% response from all my 50 regional executives, and they all confirm this is spread more than 50 districts in Ghana. And so it's a very critical issue. And let me also say that the coalition is also adding our big voice to Occupy Ghana to say that the issue is a public health issue. It has health and socio-economic impact. It's high time government assembled all the necessary legal bodies to be able to deal with the matter. Okay. We are following what the Food and Drugs Board is doing. More especially, I come from the Brown Hafo. I know what the regional director of the Food and Drugs Authority is doing quite well, but civil society are not involved in all these processes they are using. No. You see, civil society is the voice of the people. We live, we research, we inform, we educate people on this. So when there's a public health crisis, one would have expected that civil society at the district regional level are contacted so that we can leverage the effort being made by the state agencies. Right. And let me give you a typical example. When there was an issue of immunization in this country, civil society have played a critical role to ensure that Ghana's immunization is the jealous type. When there was maternal health crisis in the country, for over the last 15 years on the sustainable development, Millennium Development Goal, civil society play a critical role for Ghana to be the first country to achieve the MDG. So
are you placing the blame of the fact that maybe this hasn't been, harped on enough on the doorsteps of civil society?
Yes, health issue cannot be dealt with by only the government institutions. Health issues is now multifaceted. It's a social issue. The way people move from the community to work and back has to do with social behavior. Sure. And it's no more only public or health sector issue. And so when there are issues, a broader consultation and involvement can help support the agenda of government intention of providing quality services to the people.
Now, speaking of the agenda of government and government agencies, the Food and Drugs Authority has intensified its efforts at making sure that the drug is seized. However, some might say it's a knee-jerk reaction, more of a reactive instead of a preventive approach.
Yes, that's why I'm saying that if civil society is involved, what the Food and Drugs Authority is doing now is just a tip of the iceberg. When there's a larger involvement, what is going to happen is a two-pronged approach. The first one will be the preventive outreach programs, which together, like the local language say, when you take one broom, it breaks. When you bring the pieces together, there's a strength in unity. And that is what we are calling for, that Food and Drugs Board is only operationalized more in the 10 administrative regions. They are not in the districts.
Okay.
And by so doing, they cannot reach all the 216 districts or even now more.
Okay.
So what it means is that if they open up Food and Drugs Board, Ghana Standard Authority, Ministry of Local Government, Ministry of Gender, Social Protection and Children, because children are involved now, we need to have that inter-ministerial, inter-agency coordination effort. Let's have a national platform to deal with the issue. The second aspect is that our research institutions are not deeply involved. Noguchi is not involved in this. The University of Ghana Public Health and other specialized agencies in this country must be involved. Let's have a national think tank. Tramadol and other abuses are becoming very critical in our public health delivery. It is adding more stress on our national health system. What can we do about it? Let's have papers around, national think tank. Let's discuss. Let's come up with roadmap. Let's influence government the way they need to finance the health sector, so that when we have these operational researches and we have papers presented, we can pick the best and present to government, and the Minister of Finance will be willing to accept and increase the health budget so that Ghana can have more preventive education program.
All right, thank you very much. We've been in the studio with Dr. Gabriel Briel Benakun. He is the national chairman of the Ghana Coalition of NGOs in Health, and we've been talking about the issue regarding Tramadol. Now, the Food and Drugs Authority says it is stepping up its market surveillance in the wake of the death of 3 kids killed by a fumigation tablet toxin at Abavana in Accra. Now, speaking on New Day, the head of the communications at the Food and Drugs Authority, James Latte, said the investigations into the source of the fumigation tablet toxin is still ongoing.
Give this advice that because of some discrepancies, it will be very good for consumers to buy products from recognized shops. You know, I'm saying this because this that you are talking about, if for instance it's located in a shop, FDA can go look at the products, do further investigation to even find out who supplied it.
Exactly.
And then get to the core. But you see, when you buy from the roadside, you are not assured of what you are buying.
That's true.
You don't even know whether it's a genuine thing or it's not a genuine thing. You don't even know. Yes, there are some things on the roadside that are good. I don't deny that.
Yeah.
But that's not the best place to buy your products. Even going back to this issue, this thing that happened.
Right, the fumigant.
Fumigants. Look, when you sell such chemicals on the open sun, the heat alone can cause a reaction. That will create a problem.
Don't people know this?
You see, we've done a lot of education on this. And it looks like, well, you know, changing habits is very difficult.
How does the FDA feel each time something like that happens? They knock on your door and they start blaming you. How does the FDA feel?
Well, it decepts us, though we understand that as a regulator, you'll be getting bashings. For that, we know that. And something we do expect that to be happening.
You're still watching Midday Live. Let's move away from health issues and head to Parliament, where members of Parliament are being recalled from their recess to sit on Thursday, April 26 and Friday, April 27. Now, in a statement signed by the Speaker of Parliament, the recall is to enable members consider some urgent parliamentary business. But TV3 has gathered the recall is to ratify the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. A letter cited by TV3 from the Ministry of Trade and Industry to the Speaker of Parliament indicated the President's decision for the House to reconvene to consider and approve the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. So we've been joined on the phone lines by Mohammed Mubarak Muntaka. He's the MP for Aswasi and the Minority Chief Whip. Good afternoon, sir. Many thanks for joining us on Midday Live on TV3.
Yeah, good afternoon to you and your listeners.
Right. Now, we're learning that the recall is to ratify the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, a call by the President. Can you confirm this?
Well, yes, I can say that since this information came to us, we've been struggling to know the full agenda, even though I must tell that, Business Committee will have to schedule it for us to sit on it on Thursday. But as members of the leadership, usually what we do, the practice of the House, is that this information, all the things that needed to be done, we should be in the know. But unfortunately, all that we know from the clerk at table is that this is what we have to come and rectify. And I was of the view that, if this is all we have to rectify, well, I really don't see the urgency in it, unless maybe if our colleagues in the executives or in the majority will be able to tell us the urgency in trying to rectify an AU agreement, because we already have a number of AU agreements that have not yet been rectified, and many other international agreements that have not been rectified. And remember, the House is coming back second week of May, and I would have thought that we'll have waited to come middle of May to rectify them. But maybe there are other things that we don't know, and maybe they are keeping it close to their chest. Maybe at the appropriate time they may want to share those things with us. But I think the proper thing and the practice of the House is that all of us in the leadership, especially, the leaders and the whips, will be in the know so that we can prepare our members adequately for the recall. But unfortunately, after this morning, all we know is about this African Free Trade Area Agreement.
Now, regarding the agreement, what are the details? Very briefly, what are the details and what is in it for Ghanaians?
That is the other surprising thing, because as you and I speak now, even this morning, I'm still in Parliament House as we are speaking. I called the clerk at table. Do we have sufficient copies that I can have a copy to go through? He says the copies have not come. And it's worrying, because then we are coming on Thursday, then the whole document, yes, I know the rules of the House is that documents must be laid before they are discussed. But knowing the rules of the House, if you lay them, they are supposed to last 48 hours before you can do any other thing. But because it's a recall, if we don't have the document and we begin interrogating the details of the document, and you call us on Thursday and expect us to be able to do that in that short period, obviously we may be short-chaining ourselves. But my expectation is that they will make the documentation available. But as you and I are speaking now, I'm in Parliament now. We don't have copies of the agreement, and I will not be able to tell, apart from the heading, the letter that was signed to Mr. Speaker, and for that matter, the Clerk of Parliament. The Speaker through the Clerk of Parliament. There's no any other details, and I'm looking forward that they will make those copies available, because yesterday, when I pressed the clerk at table, they said they were bringing it before the close of yesterday.
My bad.
Yesterday went off. We didn't have it. Today, we still don't have it. I hope they will bring it, because I don't know, it will be too difficult for us to go through something that we have not seen and even gotten the understanding of.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for joining us on the phone lines. We've been speaking with Mubarak Muntaka. He's the MP for Aswasi and the Minority Chief whip. Now, let's move away and do some other stories as Nana Addo from Kaswa reports on a bridge which is posing a threat to both motorists and pedestrians in the Owutu-Senya East municipality of the Central Region. This is the MTN video report.
This was a road being constructed by a Brazilian contractor last year and left it uncompleted. As a result, part of the dual carriage road has been washed away by erosion. And looking at it now, you can see how the road has been. The bridge here is the main bridge linking the Kaswa Township and the main business area. Now, part of the rocks that was being used to construct the road has been washed away to the main river, and it is very bad, and it's also bad for pedestrians, passerbyers and road users as well. From Kaswa, Nana Addo reporting.
Well, you can also play your part as a citizen journalist by sending your video report via WhatsApp number 0551 433 044. The number again, 0551 433 044. Midday Live continues shortly after this. Stay with us. Welcome back to Midday Live. Don't forget, you can always send your views and your comments regarding any of our stories to our various social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, as Twitter. Let's start off this segment with the story. And Chief Executive Officer of the Millennium Development Authority, Martin Benjamin, has explained that it was the decision of the board of MIDDA to select Morocco consortium after careful consideration of documentation presented by BXC consortium and Morocco consortium. Now, BXC consortium has sued the Millennium Development Authority, MIDDA, over what it describes as an unfair disqualification in the bidding process.
That we had only two companies, Morocco and BXC, and these submitted their proposals, and the technical proposals were evaluated and presented to the board for a decision, and the board approved that Morocco must move forward because there are two of them, and therefore there will be one person who might be leading at a point in time. And that was the board's decision based on information available to the board. Now, having done that, you have not selected the final bidder because you have selected a preferred bidder. And the bidder's documentation, together with all his financials, are now looked at. And if they are in place, then the bidder is invited to come for negotiations. Parliament will also debate it, and at the end of the day, when approval is given, then we can say that we have selected a final concessionaire.
Will by the first week of May this year release about $236 million to Ghana under the agreement with the fund. Now, this will be the total of a fifth and sixth disbursements under the Economic Support Program.
The release of the amount means the International Monetary Fund is at least satisfied with Ghana's performance so far under the agreement. This also comes on the back of the IMF mission's review of Ghana's performance in March 2018. Aside impressing the fund with efforts to sustain and surpass the 8.5% growth recorded for the first year in office, government is also pitching for an acceptance of its Ghana Beyond Aid agenda. Some government officials have embarked on a non-due roadshows both in Asia and in the United States. The exercise is expected to culminate in the issuing of bonds as part of restructuring the country's debt. Ghana entered into the IMF agreement in 2015 for a credit support of $918 million. Originally, the IMF program was scheduled to end in April 2018, but it has since been extended to April 2019 after the NPP government agreed to an extension of the program.
And now to issues regarding taxation. And a senior lecturer at the Department of Accounting of the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Ibrahim Bedi, is advocating a review of property taxation. He noted enforcement of the tax backed by law would rake in more revenue for development.
What we have now is a property rate, not a property taxation system. And the property rates are administered by the district let's say assemblies. So it's not as massive as one will expect. What we are getting from property now is rent tax. And even that, we are not doing very well.
The various metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies administer property rates based on the value of the building. The senior lecturer at the Department of Accounting at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Ibrahim Bedi, noted the local authorities do not have the capacity in areas such as staffing and technology to collect the rates. He underscored the need to streamline and enforce both property taxation and rent tax.
We need a proper valuer so you can get a good value of the building and tax. But that must become a law. So once it becomes a law, then it becomes like any other tax you pay. And then you must also intensify rent tax, because today we are renting houses $3,000, let's say a month.
In the country's tax laws, a residential building goes for 8% rent tax, while commercial buildings go for 15% rent tax.
Tracking people and the IT infrastructure. So with this same system, if you paid rent to a landlord, then the system will know that you have given this landlord X amount of rent, and then we can go. So Ghana has opportunity to still increase our tax revenue through property taxation and through rent taxes.
A property tax is an ad valorem tax on the value of a property, usually levied on real estate. The tax is levied by the governing authority of the jurisdiction in which the property is located.
Well, that's all for business news for this afternoon. Let's move away from that and do some other stories. And President Akufo-Addo has reiterated his pledge not to abandon projects merely because it was started by the previous administration. Commissioning the refurbished Sekondi Fishing Harbour started under the Mahama administration. The president noted the completion of the harbour is critical as the fishing industry is an important mainstay of some 2 million Ghanaians.
The establishment of the harbour, which started under the Mahama administration in July 2016 and completed by the current administration, according to President Akufo-Addo, is evidence of the pledge he made in the run-up to the 2016 general elections that he will not abandon any project merely because it was started by a previous government. President Akufo-Addo underscored the importance of the fishing industry to Ghanaians and stressed that the welfare of fisher folks in the country are important to his government.
Not only does fish constitute a substantial portion of the Ghanaian diet, fisheries are essential to the livelihood and economy of Ghana. Indeed, the fishing industry accounts for some 4% of our gross domestic product GDP and provides many employment opportunities for our young men and women.
The president charged the Ghana Port and Harbours Authority, which is responsible for supervision of the harbour, to ensure proper maintenance culture in order to protect the $20 million investment for current and future generations. The president also used the opportunity to reiterate the unwavering commitment of government to protect the territorial integrity of the country in the face of the activities of pirates in the Gulf of Guinea.
Ghana's waters are recognized internationally as being very safe. We will not allow pirates or criminals to rob us of this hard-won reputation and create a sense of insecurity on our waters. To the 14 tuna fishing companies that are reported to have recently halted operations due to the menace posed by the pirates, I urge them to resume.
The president also revealed that plans are underway for the construction of mini fishing harbors and landing sites across the coastal belt of the country.
Now, commuters using the East Legon Tunnel to either East Legon or Spintex Road can now heave a sigh of relief as the new tunnel has finally been opened to traffic. Kwabena Idujemfi reports motorists have applauded the government for the expansion and are hoping such expansions could take place on other roads in the capital to ease the usual vehicular traffic.
Time check is 10:30 a.m. and right behind me is that route which links East Legon and Spintex. Now, if you have used this particular road before, then I'm very sure that by now you may be wondering how come traffic is moving this smoothly at this time of the day. And this is simply because that tunnel, that is the 8.5-meter tunnel, which was under construction sometime back to ease vehicular traffic, has been opened, and that was yesterday. Now, in a very short while, we will be engaging some motorists to find out from them if really the purpose for which this construction or expansion was done has been achieved.
Normally, it's about, you can spend about 1 hour to about 1.5 hours in this very particular field until you get to your destination.
Okay.
So far it's been very good. I'm using it for the second time.
As compared to first, I think there have been much improvement. If, let's say, it will take you, let's say, 15, 20, 30 minutes to bypass the tunnel, less than 5 minutes, you are through. So I think there have been much improvement.
Yeah, fine. Fine, because and first now, the traffic more, but it's in Miras here. Be free, estate junction, maybe Miras here now, and it's a bit many traffic here.
The new 8.5-meter wide tunnel replaces the old 4-meter wide tunnel, which caused heavy traffic during rush hours because it could only carry one stream of oncoming vehicles. Right, so one road being open, another one being closed, at least temporarily, as we've received a statement from the Ghana Highway Authority that there will be some diversions created, or there actually has been a diversion created on the Mallam Junction route. Now, this as a result of the drainage construction works at the Mallam Junction to reduce the perennial flooding on that stretch of the road. All right, so away from that, let's do some other stories. And the Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition says the free senior high school policy risks collapsing because some key stakeholders were not consulted. Now, Council Chairman of the coalition, Brighter Pierre, made the observation on the sidelines at the launch of the Global Action Education Week here in Accra.
The Sustainable Development Goal 4 advocates inclusive and equitable quality education and promoting long-life learning opportunities for all by 2030. According to the coalition, Ghana may not be able to reach its goal if government and other stakeholders in the education sector are not held accountable. The Executive Council Chairman of the coalition and Executive Director of Child Rights International, Brighter Pierre, noted an inclusive consideration of education policies is critical.
If you look at how the government roll out the free SHS program, we encountered a number of issues. And we thought that if we had had a consultation with the public in respect to how to move the project forward, would be very appropriate. But we did not have that privilege of discussing some of the things. One has to do with the role of parent in the formulation of the policy, and then their contribution.
Former Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Ivan Adai-Mensah, lamented over the poor quality of education at the pre-tertiary level.
Quality has been compromised to such an extent that it is widely believed that the vast majority of our school children go through the primary and junior secondary school and come out extremely deficient in literacy and numeracy. They cannot read and write, not only English, but even their own local languages. Most times, measures meant to improve access have not gone hand in hand with quality.
In addition to providing access, he underscored the need to address the teacher-student ratio.
Quality can only be improved if the conditions under which educators work are made more attractive. Pupil-to-teacher ratio at many of the public schools is very poor. This has to be addressed. We have recently introduced the free SHS system. Now we have a situation in which whether a person can afford to pay for his or her education, it is provided free of charge. This has its implications on quality and equity.
The week-long event is on the theme, strengthening citizen participation and accountability in education management, a milestone for achieving SDG 4.
It's still midday live. We'll take a quick breather. We'll return with some sports news action. Stay with us. In entertainment this afternoon, the campaign against sexual violence in Ghana seems to have intensified as a stage for the 2018 Ghana Women of the Year honors was turned into a platform for awareness creation. The third edition of the annual event hosted by Glitz Africa witnessed the honoring of 9 Ghanaian women who have channeled their passion and resources into influencing lives and effecting social change. It was indeed a night for women, and they were fully represented. Hosted by Vimbai Mutineering and Doreen Ando, the event acknowledged leading women from different sectors who serve as an inspiration to other women and society. They included EC Chair Charlotte Osei, Excellence in Governance.
I think my parents will be very happy today because finally, my strong will has brought something good.
Ace journalist Ifia Pokua, Excellence in Media. Award-winning film director Juliet Asante walked away with the Excellence in Film honor. Claudia Lumo is the CEO of Glitz Africa.
Can't say that we couldn't achieve our dreams because maybe our economy or because there wasn't enough, support. I think if you look at the stories of these women, they've gone through a lot of challenges, but they still survive their businesses, their home and everything. And it's very humbling. And the whole vision behind this is to tell the story of Ghanaian women doing really well and to use it to inspire people.
The night was marked not only by fashion, but also great music. On the night, Efia received the Excellence in Musical Arts honor.
The message that I bring when people hear my music, I love the power that my music gives to people and my fans all over the world. I love the fact that I'm an African woman. It makes me feel so proud every day when I stand on stage. It's like, yes, kingdom.
Honorees and other speakers threw their weight behind the campaign against sexual violence against women.
You are so in control of your dream. You are so in control of your yeses and your nos. So much that one day this control will bring you onto a stage like this and give you the power to speak to hundreds, thousands, 10,000, 100,000 women.
This 7-year-old girl was honored for her entrepreneurial skills. She creates limited edition bracelets for sale to support her dad's stroke treatment and donates to the stroke unit at the Kulebu Teaching Hospital. It was indeed an inspiration-filled night, and in the end, patrons were pleased with the serious attention being paid to the lives, profession, and contributions of women towards the development of the Ghanaian society. Indeed, power to the women. And to some other entertainment stories. After years of proving his mettle, fast-rising rapper Don Ichi has landed a record deal that could turn around his budding music career.
refuse to be broke to peace,
Born Prince Kelvin Eli Kwekuhuloji, Don Ichi has had a promising career.
The black sheep, so ne mena mikura jeep, Bridget Otupane Hipono, Binyanka Mayane Jeans and Zipono.
The rapper's music journey started back in 2009. In his bid to break through, the rising star put his best foot forward. In 2012, Don Ichi was adjudged the first runner-up of music reality show Born Stars. The gifted rapper is credited with works including Elective Rap featuring Reggie Rockstone and Ochiame Kwame, Drive Me Crazy, done with Mugiz, and Dundu, produced by Aputus. The rising star's creative exploit earned him the 3-year recording contract. Tribe Media will cater for Don Ichi's present career need.
We're going to provide for him basically everything that he would need with promotion. We're going to cater for part of his housing and the transportation, and eventually we're looking to have a studio where he would have easy access to be able to record his music, so he can have everything. We're just basically trying to provide a conducive environment for the artist so he can produce and give us his best.
Well, that's how we wrap up Midday Live here on TV3. My name is Solis Rose Quarte. Many thanks for joining us. We've been live on DSTV channel 279 and also interactive via our various social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter. Join us for more news updates in our subsequent bulletins. Good afternoon.